This video is going to have a look at the kidneys. By the end of it, you need to know the role of the kidneys, the three different roles. You need to know how the kidneys work, and you need to know what happens if kidneys fail. So the first things first then is the role of the kidneys. There are three different ones. The first one being the removal of urea from the blood. The second one being the adjustment of iron levels. You should know the word iron from chemistry. And finally, the adjustment of water in the blood. Now, you might also be expected to know the different parts of the kidney system. So obviously you have your kidneys here. The blue one is the renal vein and the red one is the renal artery. Down here we have the bladder, and here is the urethra. Now, the kidney does all this by filtering out all the stuff that you don't want and all the stuff that you do, and then reabsorbing the useful things. So I'm going to show you how that works now. So if you have a look here, this is a cross section of a kidney. If you have a look a bit closer on, you have this bit here, which I've drawn down at the bottom there, and I'm going to explain what happens at each stage. Each of these little squiggly things here is called a nephron. Now that is where the filtration happens. So the very first thing that happens then is high pressure squeezes out all the water, urea, ions and glucose from the blood. So it comes along here from the renal artery into something called the glomerulus, and then down, filtered out into these things called Bowman's capsules. So the Bowman's capsules are the thing that capture those things, those water, urea, ions and glucose. So the glomerulus and the Bowman's capsule both act like filters, and if you think through the filter paper that we did in chemistry, it stops all the large molecules from getting through. So that means only the water, urea, ions and glucose will get through. All the big things like your red blood cells, your proteins won't get through. They will stay in the blood, which is where they're needed. All of this filtering happens in this blue section here. The next thing, the reabsorption, happens in the green area. So the next thing that happens then is all the useful stuff that you want goes through the Bowman's capsule into these nephrons, which are these squiggly things here, and they get reabsorbed. So it happens all the way along here. So they're reabsorbed into the blood in these sections here. Now, the water and the glucose are both reabsorbed based on how much is needed, and in particular with the water, I'll go on to that in the next video. But it goes along a concentration gradient, so if there's not enough glucose in the blood, more will be absorbed. If there's too much in the blood, less will be absorbed. So the final step then is the waste, which is the urea and the water. It's released as urine. So it goes along here and then goes down through here into the bladder, where it's expelled when you go to the loo. So from this video then, you should be able to tell me what the three main uses are of the kidneys and how that filtration and absorption occurs. In the next video, we'll have a look at how the water levels are maintained from the kidneys.